What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Friends Podcast. Thank you for joining us once again on this beautiful whatever day that you're listening to this. Hopefully, the day it drops. Definitely make sure you engage with us, like this, comment, subscribe. Follow us. In whatever capacity if you enjoy the podcast and
We're
stuff
back.
that we saying. Yes, sir. We're definitely back. So my name is Matt. Short, sweet intro.
And I'm Rod.
Yes, sir. Yep. So I'm here with my co-host Rod, and we're here to talk about a bunch of different things. This podcast specifically is about a lot of music stuff, life stuff, and maybe some current events. Different things like that. So I guess we can go ahead and get into it right now. So, Rod, what's going on with you, man? We haven't really talked too much in the last week, so I don't know what's been going on this week for you.
This week was pretty good for me. I worked the weekends this week, which is a little bit different than my normal schedule. Normally I'm like in the morning and afternoons, regular 9 to 5. But yeah, this week I was working the evening, so all night.
Okay.
Getting to the money this week.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I know a lot of people out there can relate to that. A lot of people on that 9 to 5 grind. I would say for myself, kind of the same thing. Next week I am starting a new schedule, so my job right now, they're letting us do 4-10, so I'm gonna have 4 days a week, 10-hour days, and then I will be off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So definitely excited to start that and kind of see what's going on with that. But
I'm definitely excited to talk about today's topics and what we got going on this week. We got something special for you guys.
most definitely. So I guess so right now I'll just go ahead and kind of give you guys a rundown. Of course, we're gonna be talking about some music topics. A little something to get you guys interested. So kind of ranking some eras or just talking about eras and kind of talking about lyrics and, like unique words in rap. So I guess, do you want to go ahead and jump into the first topic right now?
Yeah. Well, the first topic we're going to talk about is we saw this article, and it was from pudding.cool. We'll post the link down below.
So we found an article from January 2019. I think I saw this on Reddit somewhere from the Pudding. It's pudding.cool is the website. So it's kind of, the article is titled "The Largest Vocabulary in Hip Hop. Rappers Ranked by the Number of Unique Words Used in Their Lyrics." And I kind of found this interesting just because they do have a graphic on here that shows, artists from different eras and, who used, what number of words. So I just kind of found it interesting because, not to get too far into the topic, but a lot of the newer artists out here are, using a lot less words, which I feel like a lot of people can tell when listening to modern rap and stuff like that. So we just found this kind of interesting. We kind of wanted to get into a discussion, does it matter? Is the quality of music based on how many words you say, how many, what is the quality of music and what is the real metric of like who's great and who's not great? So
Yeah, when you showed me this article, I was very taken aback by the amount of words that some of these new artists use versus some of the other eras. Right here, like when I'm looking at the article, it's the number of unique words used within artists' first 35 lyrics. So that's a lot of their debut albums, and this is a real scientific look into hip hops and lyricism, which was very interesting because you don't see many studies and things done in this nature.
right, not at all.
And yeah, like the 2000s, the 1990s, the 2010s, the 1980s, these different eras. And it just seems when you look at this chart and how everything goes, that as the eras go on, the less words that are used by rappers.
Right, yeah, that's what I kind of found interesting too, and I guess it was something like you can hear it when you hear the music, like after reading this article and then kind of going back and listening to some of these people, you can kind of hear it. But even before, I could kind of hear that it was kind of less. So let's start off here. Let me go ahead and read the people on the high and the people on the low. So on the very low with less than 2,675 words is Lil Uzi Vert and NF. NF is like a rapper from Michigan. I would say I would compare it to Eminem. And then so on the very top for 6,425 words we have ASAP Rock, not ASAP Rocky, ASAP Rock, and then Bus Driver.
Definitely not to be confused with ASAP Rocky.
Yeah, definitely not to be confused. So yeah, ASAP Rock and Bus Driver at the very top of this list, and they are listed as the 2000s era. So I don't know. I guess let's just get into the conversation of, does this matter to you? Like, how much does this hold weight? How much did this list hold weight when you read it?
When I read it, it was very interesting, like topics and the artists and how many words they actually use. And then it actually made me want to go back and listen to some of the music from the 90s and the 80s, and because I'm a 90s baby, so I had to go back and listen to some of these other artists and just get a kind of a more of an understanding of what they were rapping about and how they were rapping back then compared to how today was. So I went back and I played like on the high end and low end. I went to A$AP Rock, MF Doom. I listened to Wu-Tang, GZA. Of course, I listened to them in the past, and they're 90s artists. But I had to go back and listen to a good amount of music to get a good grasp on this. And something that I really want to point out was the content level. Like back then, I felt like there was more things they were touching on back then, like in terms of society and the world, how things were going. And then when you listen to music today, it's more materialistic. Like they're only rapping about whatever they're wearing, whatever girls they got, and I feel like that kind of leads to the less words that they're using when there's not much topics or depth into their words or their lyrics and how they're trying to communicate their message across. I feel like that was very interesting when I started to get a little bit deeper into it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that is also interesting just because if you look at the distribution of, by era, like I said, the 2010s is at the very lowest. They peak out at about 5,300 words. But then what also was kind of crazy to me is the 1980s artists are kind of in between about 4,000 and 5,000, and they're not even at the very top. So when a lot of people say, oh, hip hop peaked in the 90s, it peaked in the 90s. I guess I might be able to see why those people say that. Maybe they really find this lyricism and unique words as something that's super important to them.
Some of the artists from the 80s are Run DMC, Biz Markie, Ice-T, Rakim, Beastie Boys, Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J. Those are kind of like when you think about all the new artists and some of the artists that were a little bit older now, those are kind of like the fathers of hip hop that a lot of people consider.
Most definitely. Like Big Daddy Kane, I know a lot of people talk about like being influenced by Big Daddy Kane and Rakim as well, because of course New York is the Mecca, so it's kind of gonna fall like that just naturally. And like you said, that was the big name artist back then. So it's just kind of interesting how they took what happened in the 80s and they elevated it and they added more words to it. And it's like now hip hop is not just fun music. In the 90s, it became, okay, we saying something. Like we got some words out there to say this is what's going on in these neighborhoods and stuff like that. So
I like that a lot that's why I miss rappers talking about what's going on and get more descriptive and not just. I feel like the 90s was a time where gangster rap really prevailed and it kind of just moved in that direction, hip hop today.
Yeah.
Back then it was more of a black empowerment to it and neighborhood and cultural empowerment that I really miss. There's not much of that today. Of course you have your artists like Kendrick Lamar and I would say Big Crit and some of those artists like that.
Speaking of Kendrick, what's interesting about him is he's kind of in the middle. Let me see if I can find him. Yeah, so he peaks out at about 4175 words. And as somebody that's been a fan of him for damn near a decade, I really would have thought that he would have been higher on this list because I hold him as like the cream of the crop right now. So, and that's why
3,800 to 4,175 unique words. But when you think about it, this is only the first 35,000 lyrics.
Yeah.
So I wonder how far along and how many albums did it get to, where they kind of stopped or they peaked it.
Right. Yeah. And we were discussing this before, we started recording, and I was saying, I wish that for every artist they said, okay, for J. Cole, we got the warm up, the come up, Friday night. Like I wish they said exactly where they're pulling this data from. I think that would have been an interesting addition to this, but
Yeah, and also like rappers like 2 Chainz and ASAP Ferg, let me see, Tyga. I was surprised by how many words they actually use. Like when I listened to a 2 Chainz record, I never would have thought. I thought he'd be more along the lines of a DMX type rapper. But he be using a much more words than artists like Big Sean and J. Cole,
yeah.
Meek Mill, Logic. Logic only used 3,050 to 3,425 words, probably because he only talks about skin color, but
Yeah, nah, that's a great point.
it's super interesting when you look at the facts and the data behind the hip hop and the lyricism.
Now is DMX on here? Oh yeah, he's all the way at the bottom. He's pretty much the
Yeah, I mean,
level
of
right
course.
above Lil Uzi Vert. Wow, so that's real interesting too. So, yeah, man, this is definitely, if you like I said, we'll go ahead and link this in the description. So if you guys want to check this out, but
Yeah, let's go into like the quality. Does that, just because how many words they use, I mean, that doesn't necessarily make their music better than the next person. The quality of the music, I feel like more or less there's more melodies today than rap, and hip hop is more melodic than it's ever been.
right,
Back then it was definitely more, to even be a rapper at that time, you had to prove yourself to be a lyricist first. And I feel like that's the huge difference in the way that music is today. People can just upload to wherever they want. SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Music. It's so much more easier just to upload music. Back then, you had to go find someone to get a deal just to get your vinyls printed. I don't know if anybody watched the Wu-Tang on Hulu, but they kind of go through the process. Like it was a whole process just to get through one song. People were trying to just get single deals back then. It wasn't as easy as it is today.
right, not at all. And like you said, you either had to go find a label to do it, or you had to come out your own pocket and print up CDs or vinyls and stuff like that. So
Yeah, the idea of being by yourself and independent just wasn't there back then.
yeah, not at all. But yeah, I don't know if it makes, and that was the main argument that I have, is I don't know if more words equals better music. I would say for some people it probably does if they really care about that type of stuff, but I think that, with rap music, hip hop music, is about the sound as well. Like there's a lot of different, there's a sound, there's a lyricism, it's the cadence, is so many different things that go into it. This is just one aspect of it, so we're unique.
Yeah, and I feel like that got better later on. The sound and the way the sonics and everything plays a part.
Right, yeah, people got more talented with mix and mastering and just how making these rappers
Technology
voices.
available.
Yep, and everything going analog, versus everything going digital versus analog with the, analog boards and stuff like that. So things have definitely progressed. I was just taking a look, and so Drake is on here at, the level right above DMX, and Drake is, people say Drake is, the best person in the 2010s era. That's the, pinnacle of the 2010s, and he's not even up there. So it's just like that kind of proves my point, where it's like it don't really matter how many words you're using. You just got to use them motherfuckers right at the end of the day.
Yeah, 50 Cent was there in the same kind of category, 3,050 to 3,425 unique words.
Right, yep. And we all know 50 Cent was a huge, him and G-Unit was definitely doing huge things. Like he's one of the, man, people still, look at Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke was, like a carbon copy of 50 Cent, and, and he was super successful too. So yeah, man, it's definitely something cool to look at and kind of analyze. And at the end of the day, it's all opinion and conversation. So it's definitely an opportunity to have some good convos about music and stuff like that.
So like, how would you rank the eras from the 80s, the 90s to 2000, 2010s? Like, where would you rank each era of hip hop for you?
For me, I feel like, I don't know, for me it's kind of easy. I feel like off top, I'm just going to say the 2010s. But I also feel like I say that because that's when in 2010, I think I turned damn near, I can't do math right now. 17 maybe. I think I turned 17 in 2010. So, that was my growing up years. That was my college years, and coming off of high school. So, I'ma always say 2010s, even though I have went back and listened to 90s, 2000s, a little bit of
Okay,
80s.
so 2010 is number one for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely that's what I'm going with all day. What would you say?
2010s is like, just to get an idea, like what artists exactly? So the Drakes and the Big Sean's, the Kendricks, the J. Cole's,
Yep, I would say
the
all
Nicki
those,
Minaj. Like
all those people, like literally everybody.
the first thing that I like when I rank it, like I think the 90s were definitely, and that was like the golden era of hip hop, was number one for me. When you get into Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, Outkast, and then you have Wu-Tang. That was, and like there's so many like I can really name right now.
So many, yeah.
And that era, it has such an impact even to this day that those are really considered like our legends today, and what everybody who looks up to it like as our OG, and just the message that they even passed along in their music and how the music lives on. Today, when I listen to music, it is too materialistic, and I almost like the question pops in my head now: how long will this music last? Will it live on for a periods of time? Like, how long are people really gonna be playing this music? Because today, people are so quick, and when you listen to music, it's here one week and it's gone the next week.
It's almost like it's easier to make fast food music because I think artists might be tuned in to the fact that niggas not really living with this shit too much, so I'm not even gonna put too much into it. So that
and everybody says the same thing.
Yeah, for the most part. And I feel you on the 90s. Some of my favorite artists of all time: Jay-Z, Jadakiss, so many different.
Biggie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not no big Biggie.
Raekwon, Nas.
I'm not no big fan of all them like that. But I'm a huge Jay-Z
The Roots.
fan. Yeah, I love the Roots. I definitely love the Roots.
Mobb Deep. Like it goes so much on. 3-6 Mafia, like
Right. But then
Bone Thugs, like.
But then I also consider that the shit that I choose to listen to today is all 2010s. So of course I'll go back and listen to Tupac, Me Against the World. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. But if I go in my playlist 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be something from Future. It's gonna be something 2010s. So that's why I have to say that that's the best era in rap music, and just the way that people was allowed to get money, because there wasn't a lot of money in rap and hip hop, and in the 90s, even in the 2000s, it was getting there, but it's a lot of money to be made out here for the rappers in the 2010 era, for sure.
Yeah, and as you see, that's all they rap about.
True.
So
that's true. That is very true. So yeah, I don't know.
So who would you rank next after the 2010s then?
So I go probably 2010s. I probably go 90s. Then I probably go 2000s. Then I probably go 80s. Just because I don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not no huge 80s. Like I love 80s, maybe soul, 80s, different other types of music, maybe some 80s rock or something. But 80s rap was just, 80s rap was just like not like Run DMC. I'm not no huge fan. Ice-T wasn't too big into him. Rakim though.
Yeah, the way they rapped was just like, who brought the party? Who brought the, like, it was just like, it was
storybook rhymes type shit to me.
Yeah, it was super different back then.
Yeah, but I will say Rakim is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Like what him and Eric B was able to do. Like I had that album. I bought that when I was probably like 15 or 16. So yeah, like I definitely respect what they do. So I'm ranking them. But I do have to rank them last because I feel like in totality, I wasn't on a bunch of that shit. So, but
I feel like the music and the producers that that are sampled a lot in today's music are from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the music today, it is sampled from the 90s, and it's kind of regurgitation and of their music. But the next person I guess I would rank is the 2010s.
Okay, so you got 90s, 2010s?
Yeah, 90s to 2010s, and then I will go to the 2000s, and then the 1980s.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, it's not really a whole lot to talk about in the 2000s other than Wayne. Jeezy,
Yeah,
50 Cent.
when you look at the 2000s, there is a good amount. Like when looking at this list, you do have 50 Cent, and then you have Kanye West, um, Young Jeezy, T.I., Cameron.
But then you also see like when you get up into like the most unique words, that's where a lot of the 2000 people are. So this is when like super, rappy rap type shit really came into the forefront, and that wasn't my specific style though. Ludacris on there too. Ludacris, Lupe, those are definitely two dope people. So, but in terms, and like I said,
Cannabis, Immortal Technique,
yeah,
MF Doom, RZA, Tech Nine, Twister.
right. But like I said, for the 80s, like in totality of the 2000s, I wasn't fucking with like a lot of this shit. I'm not no super rapidy rap, heavy, super heavy lyric listener. Like I can listen to it, I can understand it, but it's just not what I prefer. So that's why I got to put them lower than the 80s, or like them in the 80s, kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there was a decline in hip hop and the popularity around that time. Like people wanted to be more pop in the 2000s. I feel like than anything.
Nelly was the biggest pop artist.
Nelly, everybody wanted to switch over and change genres because they just felt like hip hop, I guess, wasn't the place to get money at the time. Everybody wanted to be something different. Like at least to get the commercial success. Anyways, that's what it seemed like you had to do.
Right, you got to go pop. You got to kind of do something that's outside of the box, or not dumb it down, but just kind of make it more palatable for like everybody, not just the black community. And we all know that hip hop started with just like, b-boys, and, on the cardboard doing, dancing and shit like that. And it was for the black community. But then, you got Eminem in the 2000s, where we know what Eminem did, like worldwide. So like, I feel like that's when it started becoming to that pop shit, when everybody was like, oh, this is what rap is. This is what hip hop is. I feel like that's when it started.
Yeah, Eminem's a legend.
Yeah, he is. I can't dispute that. I don't listen to him though. I don't think I ever listened to a whole album by him, but you can just listen to his verse and.
No, I'm just saying, just someone from that era of 2000s who was about lyricism.
Right. But he was also about pop though. He made it pop. And he didn't start out like that. If you go listen to his first album, like Infinite, that wasn't no pop shit. But like when he came out with Dr. Dre and what they was doing, like that's when they started making it like this is for the masses. This ain't just for the neighborhood,
One thing about Eminem, and when I listen to his music today, it's the fact that it seems so dark. Like there's a super dark term in how he speaks of his mother. And when you think of black people, and normally whenever we are around our people, we don't speak bad about our mother. That's one thing that we don't do.
Hell no.
So so I feel like a lot of black people like is turned off from that, like from his music usually. So it's pretty interesting, like that he has so much success. When you think of today, he's one of probably the most decorated artists beyond Jay-Z.
For sure.
Like in terms of music sales and streams.
For sure.
Just how far his music goes along, like it just shows you how much hip hop has grown as a culture. It's definitely beyond than just black culture now.
Right. Yeah.
Who's out there like streaming and buying these albums?
And then while we still on the same topic, let's see where's Eminem on this list. Eminem is he on here?
Yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah, because we started talking about him. Eminem is...
Yeah, he's between the 40, 175 and 45, 50.
Right, yep. And so I guess let's speak on the same people in that list, like Biz Markie, Rakim, Jay-Z, Outkast, Cameron, Absol.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know Biz Markie used that many words.
Me either. I thought
he was like a DJ or something. Rest in peace to him.
For sure, yeah. He definitely... The way people speak about him, I've seen interviews when people speak about him, and they say like he was definitely a good dude. So yeah, rest in peace to him for sure. But yeah, I didn't know too much about his music.
Yeah, he was a beatboxer.
Yeah, it was him and Dougie Fresh, Mm-hmm. So
and then you had Ice-T and the Rakims. we knew Rakim used a lot of words.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So yeah, man, this is and I guess let's go back to Eminem. Like me as a kid, because what Eminem came out with like 2000, 2001, that was when it was first starting to like bubble up, I think, for him. I just didn't. I think it speaks to what you just said. Like a lot of people in the black community, we don't condone a lot of that shit. So I don't know if I consciously was like, I'm not fucking with it, or just I just knew in my brain listening to it that shit wasn't it. Like it just didn't connect with me. Like is that how you felt though? Like when you first was listening to him, like when you was growing up?
Now, when I was first started listening to Eminem, I was a black kid from the suburbs, so yeah, I was really into Eminem. I was feeling every single word and lyrics.
Yeah.
I was like, my mom's spaghetti. Like I was lose yourself. Like in the moment. Like I was one of those kids. Like really, like feeling his lyrics. And then I feel like as I grew up and started to like dissect a little bit more and have like pretty much a better understanding of hip hop and some different artists and that I was introduced to, then I started to realize, like, man, like it just did, like his music didn't connect as much as it did back
Right.
then.
So it was kind of like a gradual
Back
thing.
then, I feel like it's kind of like whatever you was going through. If you felt like you was a kid who was down, like I feel like he was a person you could connect to. And then like being from Michigan and Detroit, he was one of the biggest artists at that time. And it's like, oh, I love 8 Mile.
Not a bad
So
movie.
yeah, I feel like it was more of like it was just a connection that I had being from Michigan, and like Eminem was one of the like that had so much fame at the time. Like I remember I had his tour. Like my aunt had gave me his tour videos. Like when he was on tour and he was with Proof and
R.I.P.
what was the other group he was with? It was Proof.
D12.
Yeah, and D12. Like
Yeah.
seeing those videos and stuff like as a kid. Like he was more than a musician. He, like as you see, like he transcended. He was a character in itself.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I had a different experience for sure. Like that's why like I definitely respect Eminem and like how far he's came.
Yeah.
For sure.
I got respect for him too, and I think that he, obviously one of them top tier, lyricists or whatnot. But I just got to keep it real and say it didn't hit me the way it hit everybody else. But all great points from you for sure. Like yeah, being from Michigan and everything, like he was right there. He was right down the street.
Yeah, when he like quit like hip hop back then, like it was an album called Curtain Call. Like I thought that was it.
Hip hop is dead.
Like I was like, yeah, I thought that was I thought we was done, and I wasn't so sad about it either.
Yeah.
Now when you like, yeah, like now when I listen to his music and he doesn't quite like now in his newer music he doesn't go too much about the mother and all that stuff. He gets into more different topics, and it's almost like he started off as more of a hatred to like this younger generation, in my opinion now, and like how he's grown and stuff like that. But now, yeah, it's like I kind of wish it would have just ended though, man. At Curtain Call,
Yeah, he definitely didn't end.
like I didn't even want. I like hearing the pain. Like when when I listen to him now, it's like I miss hearing Eminem in pain and going through all those traumas and things because the music just sounded better. I don't know why it touches more when someone's in pain. Like I feel like that, there's something about hip hop that like the music that when artists are in pain or going through something like deep, like it just sounds better. Like that sounds kind of sick when you think about it. Like
But that's real
I
though,
don't know why there's such of attraction to pain and hip hop and like going through struggle.
because I feel like a lot of people do. A lot of people go through that. So I think it just is a relatability. Whether it's
Yeah, that's like Tupac and Biggie and everything. It's like they were just talking about the struggles and growing up and
everyday struggle.
what they saw on the streets and the deaths and all that stuff is it's so much hip hop and stuff like that. Like, but I mean that was a good time in hip hop, right? Like the golden era for sure.
Yeah, Now, even though I don't say, even though I don't feel like that's my favorite or like that's the best, that's definitely the golden era. But one thing I think is interesting about what you said is like the 80s. Like I said, hip hop started off like fun shit, party shit, MCs. Like the MC is supposed to move the crowd. That's what MC is.
Yeah, it was empowerment.
And then it got to a point where like I think maybe Ice-T maybe had kind of, kind of ushered in like, okay, this is the streets. This is what's really going on in the streets: gang banging, shooting, killing, drugs, all that type of shit. So I think that transition started with him, and then like from there we got,
I can't blame it because around that time, that's when the crack epidemic and things started hitting the culture.
Yeah, that shit hit.
And like more of like a ghetto, and we're starting to be created, and it created just a big divide.
Right. Yep.
Between like sectors of the black community.
You think so?
You definitely hear that. Like I believe so. I feel like that's kind of where it all kind of began. Because like really the drug culture is what split the neighborhoods up in the first place, and and they create these gangs and people. Oh, I have this block and this block and this street and this street. Like I feel like that was probably one of the biggest demise of the black culture, and not being together and sticking together. And what was kind of the music that was brought up. There's a bigger discussion for sure.
A huge discussion on that. Yeah, that's a good topic though, and I think that like drugs definitely fuck shit up, violence and all that type of shit. But I ain't gonna. We could get into it. We can get into it, but maybe on another episode or whatnot. But yeah, man, definitely interesting. Just kind of ranking things, talking about it, and just dissecting like just the movement of hip hop.
2010s, the 90s, the 2000s, and then the 80s.
2010s, 90s, 2080s. Yep. Yeah. So that's what I got. And then you have 80s. No, you have pretty much the opposite. 90s, 2010s, and then what was it after that?
2000s, then the 80s.
Okay, got you.
And I want to kind of hear what some of the listeners, how they kind of rank, and just give us a couple points. Like what do you think? Like why do you feel the way you ranked it? If you agree with me, like let me know. If you agree with Matt, let him know.
For sure, definitely engage with us.
Yeah, subscribe.
Yeah,
and
subscribe.
We did we got a couple different platforms that we created. We have the Instagram at the Friends Pod, and we have our SoundCloud, the Friends Pod, and we also got our YouTube channel. We'll put all the information down below in the videos and everything. But yeah, subscribe. Tell us what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear.
Most definitely engage with us. Let us know. And yeah, man. Yeah, we always want to improve on what we're doing. And so, like I said, and like Rod said, definitely like, subscribe, comment, all that shit. Let us know if we fucking up or not. So, you want to go ahead and just jump into this next topic? I think this is one of the ones that I feel like is a big conversation, and this is something that's definitely important because words mean things. So, you want to go ahead and intro this?
In particular, the word legend. That word is used way, way, way too loosely in this era. There's so many different artists that I feel like, because I know there's a bit of a negative connotation to this, just because like you die at a young age in hip hop, like Tupac and Biggie. I feel like nowadays when artists die at a young age, then they're automatically put in that legend category. If they had remotely any type of fans, like it didn't matter if they were big all over the world and they had commercial success or anything, like people don't have any qualifications, just like, oh, like he was big in my neighborhood, who I listen to in my group. And then they just put him in that legend category. There's no basis behind it anymore.
I feel you on that. I do think that like everything that we do, every thought that we have is from ourselves. So I guess we can say, ABC is not a legend, but then somebody, like you said, from that neighborhood that grew up with him can say, oh, he a legend to me. So it's like, do you feel like a legend is, do you think it's subjective or objective? Like, is it like this person is or is not, or is it like based on personal preference?
Yeah, that's the thing. Legend has to be something it's defined. Like you know what a legend is. It can't be a loose term that's thrown around just because you're a fan of an artist. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So we looked up the definition of legend, and the definition of legend was a famous or important person who is known for doing something extremely well. And we actually created a game behind this.
We did, and we're gonna play that, after we're done discussing and stuff like that. But then even I just want to talk about that definition though. Like you said, legend is used loosely, but I think maybe it's because the definition is so damn loose. Like a famous or important person who is known for doing something extremely well. Like that's so vague. That can be a lot of people. Like you know what I mean. So maybe that's why everybody just throw the term out there because it's such a loose definition.
Yeah, it's very, very loose definition because someone could be a legend in their own, like I said, in their own neighborhood, but not all around the U.S. I don't know if we should specify certain people right now, but
Yeah, we should. Because I really want to talk about, because really what sparked this conversation is Rod had sent me a post, and somebody will basically like it was kind of the same sentiment that you can't call everybody a legend. And I guess should I read these? Do you think it's even fair to even read these out? Like,
yeah, I feel like you might as well go ahead and read that out.
yeah, okay, because I had some qualms with this shit too. So, but nah. So this is what the person has said. He said all these people are legends. Wayne, Soulja Boy. He said Soulja Boy is an internet legend. He said Drake is I think he said like current legend. Eminem, DMX, Jay-Z, Ice Cube, Nipsey Hussle as a street legend, Tupac and Biggie. So I guess let's start there. Like all those people that are on that list, do you consider all those people to be legends?
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot to just digest. So which one exactly? Who? Like,
Yeah, that's true. It is like about 10 people on there. So okay, so I'll just speak about what I was. So like Wayne, yeah, like that's not up for debate. Soulja Boy, Drake, Eminem, DMX, Jay-Z, Ice Cube. I feel like all those people are not up for debate. Tupac and Biggie, not up for debate. Now, where I had an issue was Nipsey Hussle, and I'm not trying to, God bless the dead. I'm not trying to speak on him, but I'm just keeping it 1,000 on. I have to. Nipsey Hussle, I loved his music before he passed. I loved the album Victory Lap before he passed. But a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't even know. A lot of people weren't listening. So I have
that's
a
the
problem.
thing. A lot of people did not know about Nipsey Hussle when he first came out.
They didn't.
And I had to go back and look at some of his numbers and how his albums were selling before he passed, because when artists pass, their numbers always skyrocket out of here. But back then, when the album Victory Lap dropped, it was number 4 album in the country, which is pretty good. And it sold 53,000 the first week, and it had pretty good reviews and everything.
Right. It was a great album.
But still, it was still behind. Like at the time, Kendrick had dropped the Black Panther album, and that album still did better in its like second and third week than the Nipsey Hussle album.
Right.
When it dropped.
When it first dropped, debut.
I mean, that doesn't take away from the album, but also like I looked and they show some of the peak numbers of his past albums like Crenshaw and Mailbox Money. So Crenshaw had peaked at number 61. Mailbox Money had hit at number 18. So his album sales wasn't really super great throughout his career. Like where people put him in that legendary category and number one. Like when I think of legend, and not being disrespectful to Nipsey Hussle or anything, but when I think of legend, I think of music who it created a huge impact when it first dropped, like Tupac or Biggie. When those albums released, it was all over, and it was like their name was like it was huge. Like it was a huge thing in our culture. But when Nipsey used to drop, nobody was really listening to Nipsey like that. Like maybe people in his culture and his neighborhood, and and things of that nature. But not many people knew about Nipsey. Like, Nipsey wasn't doing a lot of like features for nobody or no other artists that I really knew of, and this was his like first debut project. That's another thing. It takes time to be considered a legend, and it goes into, you gotta have more than, in my opinion, you gotta have more than one project to be a legend. Like, you gotta do it again. You can't just do it once.
Well, I don't know if this was his debut album, because you remember like when Crenshaw came out. Remember when he was selling it for like $100 like per album, and I think Jay-Z bought like 10,000 of them. I might be misquoting that, but
this was his first major like album. That was like part of his mixtapes and projects, but
does that
Victory
mean
Lap
anything?
was his number one. Yeah, it means a lot.
Why is that?
Because I feel this is what he decided this was gonna be his debut, and how he wanted to present himself to the masses.
He did.
So that means something, because he wanted this album to be that. So I gotta put some weight behind how it was presented and how it was given to the public.
Right.
And like, yeah, being that it was a great album and everything, but it became platinum and all that stuff later on after his death. Well, I mean, that also says something about the music itself. I mean, people really do like the album, but I do feel like to be a legend, you have to do things over and over again. Like, you have to repeat it. And that's feel like he wasn't given that chance yet to repeat his work or like continue on. Like I feel like he was like, he could have been a legend. Like he was getting there, like maybe with the next album, but who knows? Like, some artists go through the sophomore slump that you always hear about. Like, you have the Roddy Ricch, and that's more recent.
Bryson Tiller.
I can think of. Bryson Tiller. Yeah, like there's a bunch of artists that you can bring up that had the sophomore slump. So we really just don't know. And I feel like it's too soon to be like, oh, Nipsey Hussle's a legend. And the way that people try to put him on, like some people compare him to Tupac and being the next one. Like, it's just crazy stuff like that. It'd be like that I don't know how people get to those type of assumptions or thoughts in their head. I feel like it's more just a love for him as a person. It was like, I don't know. I didn't see the same love when he was here than when he was gone. People just thought of him as some street dude who made music, like a YG. Like, that's like, even YG was a bigger name artist than Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, at that time, for sure.
Like, yeah, like throughout his entire career, like YG's always been a bigger artist than Nipsey Hussle.
Right. And
so
again, this is no disrespect to Nipsey Hussle. No disrespect.
Yeah, no disrespect, but I'm just saying facts.
For sure. You got to tell the truth.
YG ain't considered no legend amongst everyone. I mean, maybe, of course, like in California, he may be considered a legend there in California, but across the whole world, I will beg to differ.
But going off of that, so you saying, okay, well, maybe if Nipsey had an opportunity to drop, subsequent albums, then maybe he can be considered a legend. But then what about somebody like Soulja Boy? Do you consider Soulja Boy a legend just by how he came in and transformed the game? I feel like that's a whole different conversation, because we don't love Soulja Boy for his albums. We love him because he really
everybody knows Soulja a legend. Big Draco.
But that kind of
Big Draco.
But that goes against your point though. He he just dropped an album like this last year, 2021. Did you hear it?
We can't talk about 2021 when Big Soulja was out when we were kids and stuff like that in the 2000s, and how those albums rang off during that time. Like, he's came out with multiple projects. He's produced for multiple albums. He was one of the first who got on the internet and introduced this whole world to the culture of uploading music and being independently throwing your music out there and doing all that. Like, there's a whole culture of the internet that he brought along. He did with him, and like, he pushed the culture forward. That's something that makes Soulja Boy a legend, because he was able to push the culture forward. Right. And that's huge. That's like every rapper's doing what Soulja Boy was telling people to do back then. and what he was doing back then.
So what about when Nipsey made that move and he was like, okay, I'm gonna sell Crenshaw for $100 a pop? That's not no innovative shit.
I haven't seen any other artists sell their mixtapes for $100 after Nipsey.
Because they can't.
And I heard that Jay-Z bought most of them. He bought like what, 10,000? Like so people weren't buying that. Let's be real. Jay-Z's rich, so he can afford it.
Yeah.
For regular people like me, I was finding the upload online for free. Like I wasn't buying no $100 album from Nipsey. And most of the people ain't gonna pay that much money to listen to just a mixtape that you thought was art.
Yeah, I feel like he was trying to.
It wasn't even as good as project as like his Victory Lap and some of his later. Like it was.
No, Crenshaw was fire.
It was cool.
No, Crenshaw was fire to me. It got some records on there. I would rather listen to Crenshaw than Victory Lap though, because I feel like Victory Lap is very just polished and just like, oh, this is perfect.
Like when he came out with that album, like he kind of came out with like an experience he had, like the extras a part of the album. At least what I was seeing, he put out like for $100, he was giving more into his personal life, and he started to get more into the technological thing. He had apps and things like that related to his stores, and I know he had some stores in LA and or California or whatever. So it was like a whole experience for the money, and like that idea behind that, which was very like, it was very great and all that. But I can't say Nipsey Hussle was the first person to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he probably was the first person to sell his album for that much price and say, oh, like I'm lifting my price. And when you think about today, streams and everything, like it's so many streams that a person can get that's only worth $1. I know that's something that it was a recent artist. It was T-Pain. T-Pain posted this article or whatever, it was the numbers of how many streams artists need to get $1. And it was unbelievable, like when you look at the numbers and how that all works out. But just like that's kind of like, I feel like he was trying to combat that back then. Like I feel like he had the eyesight like, oh, that's where it's kind of seems like where it's gonna head, and he wanted to try to combat that thing. It's like, oh, this is worth more than that. Which I do like that aspect.
It's innovative. It's innovative. It's definitely innovative, and he was thinking ahead because he knew, like you said, I'm pretty sure he knew like, I'm about the money, and this.
But to be a street legend that people say is like, many people just they can't afford it. Like the people who listen to Nipsey Hussle can't afford that. Wasn't able to really afford it.
Nah, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, so that's the people that was the legends. So let's speak on the people that they said are not a legend. So we got Triple X, XXX Tentacion, Bow Wow, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, King Von, and Lil Peep. So
I agree with pretty much all of those are not a legend. Like Triple X, Tentacion, Bow Wow, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, King Von, Lil Peep, Pop Smoke. Those are all not legends.
A famous or important person who is known for doing something extremely well. I feel like some of the people on this list did that. I feel like some people on this list did that.
Who would you say?
Triple X. I feel like Triple X, I don't know if he was like the greatest rapper, but I feel like the music that he made, he did it extremely well, and he was famous and important when he was alive. You know, same with Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD is really good at freestyling. And
the thing is, like, I was a big fan of Triple X Tentacion, and I listened to all his music. Like even now, I still play some of his music from the past and everything. Rest in peace, Tentacion. But to say that he's a legend, like he was there. The thing is, like, Triple Tentacion was very young. Like he didn't have that album that I feel like stuck out to the industry really much, or like of course he had a lot of people. It's kind of like the Eminem effect, like what I was talking about earlier, that people like pain and they like that to feel connected to pain, and I feel like that's where his connection came from to a lot of people. People think that emo and pain and like it's a big connection to pain these days. Like Triple Tentacion and Juice World, like they did a bunch of drugs and doing all those things, like yeah, just depression and all that.
So it connected
And
to people.
because yeah, it connected to a big group of people and like kids these days for sure.
So then we can't call
And
him a
like
legend. He connected with them extremely well. Like I feel like then we could. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I never really been a huge fan of his music, but I can see how his influence really. I don't know. We too old to talk about this. I don't know because I'm feeling like the generation under us, they really.
I don't
fuck
think
with
we're
him.
too old because I feel like it is our generation when he was alive. So we were there.
But we wasn't. He was
Like
alive, but his
like
music was.
I was a big fan like from the mixtape days, all that. Like so I can't say I was like in college, all that. Like from the beginning to the end, like I was listening to Triple X Tentacion. And even alive, I wouldn't go as far to be like this man's a legend. Like it was never like there was just so many more artists that were so much bigger than Triple X Tentacion at the time that I wouldn't go as far to be like, oh, Triple Tentacion was a legend at the time. Like that never uttered my mouth at the time. But when he died, it all of a sudden became like a term like, oh, this guy's a legend, and like he was gonna be bigger than Drake and bigger than like. These days, it always seems like these younger artists are aiming to be better than Drake, or to do better than Drake did, because Drake is the legend. They're trying to reach a point that is commercially and like it's worldwide accepted. That's like being part of being a legend and like having your music live on. I just don't think there wasn't enough music to back behind getting up to that point or that stature.
Biggie
Say,
had two
I'm a
albums.
legend at this. Yeah, Biggie did have 2 albums. He proved himself both times though. Both albums were great.
I mean, some people would say that 17 is great. Some people would say that the Question Mark album was great, you know. Or even his, the ones that dropped after
Was
he
those
died.
the posthumous albums or the ones when he was alive?
No, I'm pretty sure 17 and Question Mark dropped before he died. Question Mark definitely. But people probably still play them motherfuckers like to this day. So it's like I get what you're saying, but it's just like
Yeah, and they were so short too. They were great albums and short. I feel like there's more or less like you can pick songs from these albums that are really good, but when you listen throughout the entire album and everything like that, it's like it wasn't an album from start to beginning that was just all hits. That's just classic. Like every song is a classic, or there's multiple classics on the album when you listen to Tupac or Biggie. I feel like that's the big difference. Like when you listen to a Triple X album or anything like that, or a Juice WRLD album, like maybe there's one song, if that, 1 or 2 songs that are considered, that people be like, oh, that's a classic song. But overall, the whole album and the whole entire project was not. I feel like that's the big difference. And like culturally, like moving and like did it move the needle, and where people wanted to imitate that kind of style and wanted to be like that as much as Biggie and Tupac, and their names always brought up and lyrics, and they're constantly being sampled by new artists and all that. I can't say that that's really happening as much with the Triple X Tentacions and the Juice WRLDs.
okay. So how about this? Let's talk about somebody that had multiple albums that was doing his damn thing, as a kid. Bow Wow. I was mad that this man said Bow Wow was not a legend, because he had the little teeny bopper girls buying his albums, coming to his shows, going crazy. So I feel like that. Okay, so if we want to talk about he ain't have enough, XXX ain't have enough body of work, how about somebody like Bow Wow, where
What did Bow Wow do? Like, what's your point about Bow Wow?
Bow Wow was a kid and he had albums that was selling like a motherfucker. He had fans that was, crazy, dedicated fans that was there. at that particular time. So
It was crazy fans it was a bunch of kids like around our age
yeah.
that listened to Bow Wow, which is really good. I mean, at that time, like, yeah, it's like Bow Wow was huge, like one of the biggest at that time. But I can't believe at that time, now that I go back and I think about it, that a bunch of adults and just around the world were just sitting there listening to Bow Wow songs.
But do they have to? Do adults have to connect to it for people to be considered a legend though? Like, I feel like it's not. I feel like if somebody connect, like if you got a whole demographic connecting to you, like it don't matter if adults doing it, like the kids with it. And that's really the kids of the future.
Your music has to connect to like all demographics. It can't just be the kids. Like it has to connect everywhere. Like you're gonna have old people listening to it, you're gonna have young people listening to it. It's like it's just good music. It's good music. Like when I listen to some old school songs, like even now today, it's just good music. Back then, like I didn't. No, even back then, it's like I was like, man, it's a good song. Like as a kid, like
Or from Bow Wow.
yeah, I mean Bow Wow back then, but now when I listen to Bow Wow songs, I don't really like. I feel like he had a good team behind him. He had JD, he had Snoop Dogg, he had all those the big industry machines behind Bow Wow that kind of propelled his career. And then when you look back at his career, who, like, when everyone left, like what happened to his career? It kind of just diminished and it just went downhill from there. So it's just, I feel like it didn't live on as like musicians from legends would do.
Yeah, I would say he definitely not relevant, in rap right now. But I don't know, just something rubbed me the wrong way when I saw that. Like I'm like, you can't take away from what he did do. So do you feel like a legend has to be somebody that is?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I feel like legend is just used too loosely. That's the point. It's just like legend it should only be to the legends of the game, and when you say their name, it's like everybody's in agreement. Like a lot of people, when you say certain names, when you be like, oh, they're a legend, everybody just be like, nod their head, be like, yeah, you right.
Right. Just agreeing.
Like, well, yeah, when you talk about Ice Cube or Run DMC or like Outkast, Eminem, Drake, DMX, it's like certain things you just know, you just in agreement with. You'd be like, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so maybe we can start saying that people do legendary shit versus they are a legend. Like, like a girl can do some hoe shit, but she not a hoe. Like they did some legendary shit. Cause I feel like what he did was legendary. I never would want to take away, Bow Wow not relevant now, but I would never want to take away from his success. Like he did some shit that nobody ever did before, and nobody has done.
Yeah, Bow Wow definitely did some legendary stuff, and like a lot of these newer artists, they're doing things that back then it wasn't even possible with the streaming and the way everything's going on. So it's definitely like they pushed the culture in a way, for sure, in the newer age. But it's just music and everything, how it's distributed, and the internet everything's different these days. So of course the numbers look different these days.
Oh yeah.
It's easier for someone to even listen to an album. Like I don't have to go to a store and buy an album anymore. I just download Apple Music, I download Spotify, and I can listen to multiple albums all for $10 a month. Each album ain't $10. Like it's a bit different.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely easier to access it. So like and upload it too. Like you could just put something on SoundCloud like real quick. And
like what do you feel about like some of these artists being considered legends, like Pop Smoke or King Von?
To me, I think you made some good points here. Like, I think that a lot of people like them. A lot of people like their music, but I think you do have to have some type of body of work. Like you have to have something. And I also feel like there's an it factor there. Like, yeah, people love Pop Smoke, but like I feel like it has to be something that transcends what you doing, and I feel like they didn't make it to that level yet. And that's why I was making an argument on Triple X, because it's just like people connected with Triple X like outside of the music. Like they would probably be on his Instagram live, or that's why I was trying to put him in that category. But yeah, I feel like with Pop Smoke, King Von, he was good. And
I don't even want to go too much like King Von being a legend. It's like that's ridiculous. But Pop Smoke,
yeah, I feel like it's an argument with Pop Smoke, because Pop Smoke, I feel like he, like I said earlier, he kind of modeled himself after 50 Cent. So, and of course 50 Cent is a legend in his own right. So I feel like he was trying to get to that point, but like you were saying, like it just wasn't enough time to do it. And like you said with Biggie
what
dropped
albums do you know from Pop Smoke and stuff?
zero. None. I never was like a huge fan. I remember when he first came out, like I liked him, like Welcome to the Party and Dior, but I never tuned into his albums, before or after he passed, because I'm not no big New York drill.
Like, I never listened to King Von's music or anything before, and then it's just a thing where I feel like if your album was better, well, I mean, I'm just speaking particularly with Pop Smoke. The best album that came out from Pop Smoke, I mean, this is very sad to say, but it happened after he passed.
Oh, I did listen to the album. It was called, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I listened to it. Quavo was on there.
It was the one that was produced by 50 Cent.
Yep. Yeah.
Who has such a connection with him. And that's really sad to say that he didn't get to drop the album when he was alive, to see if it even would have came out like that, because I really don't think the album would have been how big it was, and like as I don't know if it would have been as good or even better, because I mean, unfortunately he wasn't able to drop the album when he was alive because of just stupid gun violence. But
yeah,
the best album that he dropped was when he passed. It was the Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, which was an amazing album. Before that, he had Meet the Woo and Meet the Woo 2. And he had some of the songs on there, I mean, that were cool and all that. I mean, he was buzzing a bit. Like it was some great songs that are really moving in New York for sure. But
so I guess let's have like a little mini conversation before we wrap up. Like, how do you feel, or are you even tuned into like New York drill, like that whole scene? Like, how do you feel about that?
New York drill today? Nah, I'm not. I'm not into too much into New York drill or drill music really in general. I'm not too in tune with.
I mean, you wouldn't consider Pooh Shiesty drill music? I kind of do. I mean, it's about drilling. Like, that's all he talk about.
I guess possible. I mean, I ain't even think about that. Is Pooh Shiesty drill music?
He might be.
I guess that could be considered drill music. Yeah, what do you consider drill music?
Just
talking about gang violence and gangster rap?
Yeah, I feel like it's a sector of gangster rap. Like it's like it's a part of gangster rap that's just talking about drilling. Like it's the killers that's rapping, and then of course it started with Chicago, went to New York, and I feel like a lot of people.
I looked up the definition of like drill music. So drill is a style of trap music defined by its dark, violent lyrical content and ominous trap influenced beats.
Yeah. So Pooh Shiesty, I mean, I'm telling you, like, because the trap sound, quote unquote, came from Memphis. And where is Pooh Shiesty from? Memphis.
Was Gucci like that? Did Gucci make drill music?
No, Gucci was trap music to me. And that's another conversation too, like what is trap music? But yeah, I wasn't really too tuned into New York drill, like Pop Smoke. Who else? Like
yeah, that's the thing. When I think of Pooh Shiesty, I guess I do think of like trap music. I don't really consider it drill.
That's not trap music to me. We can have that conversation later of like what is trap music to me, and what everybody else considers it to be. But yeah, I think that just to wrap it up. So you basically saying we got to stop calling everybody a legend. Like just let people be, basically.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the consensus here. And like the term legend should not be used on so many artists today, and it's something that to be proved, and that artists should strive to become a legend. It shouldn't be something that's so easily attainable.
No, I agree with you. I agree. So we're gonna have to try to put some new terminology out into the atmosphere, like call shit legendary. Don't call people legends, you know. All right, so let's talk about the most recent albums that came out, at the beginning of 2022. So I guess let me go ahead and just read through a couple of these, and I guess we can discuss as they come out, as they come through. So we have Gunna Drip Season Forever. I think he just dropped recently with the Drake single.
Mm-hmm.
We have The
Yes,
Weeknd.
forever.
Yep, and we have The
Niggas ain't
Weeknd,
P.
DawnFM. We have Corday From a Bird's Eye View. We have Earl Sweatshirt Sick. We have FKA Twigs Capri Songs. We have Lil Wayne. Oh, actually, this was kind of interesting. Lil Wayne dropped Sorry for the Wait. He re-released it. I think that was his mixtape from 2011. So that's a lot of the stuff. It's a lot more albums that dropped. Jim Jones dropped his Gangsta Grills, so that's kind of interesting too. So I don't know. Do you want to speak about any of these? Did any of these stand out to you?
Some of the ones that I heard so far was the DS Forever, and yeah, that means the album there it's very melodic. It's not much. It's very materialistic and very flashy. It's Gunna. It's not much depth behind it, and I think compared to like a lot of his previous albums, like of course like a part of this series anyways, this might be one of his least like efforts. Like this album was mainly driven by producers in my opinion. Like the beats and everything were amazing on this album. The production, everything, like compared to all the albums, this was the best to me in terms of production and the music and the beats.
I feel
I feel like that kind of that it carried his lyrics along the way.
Yeah, they definitely do. Like Wheezy, Metro was on there. I listened to. I couldn't even finish it. It just wasn't good to me. And we had talked about this the other day. Say that again.
Any particular songs on there?
Yeah, the only one that I really liked that I can remember right now is Pushin' P. Pushin' P was really dope. I just feel like he trying to introduce something new into the game, like
that's been
P
everywhere.
Yeah, because we don't even know what P is. And I listened to an interview. He
explained what P was.
Yeah, did you see that Breakfast Club interview where he was kind of explaining what it was?
Yeah, and then pretty much he was just like whatever you want it to be. Yeah, and that's kind of like
player
whatever that's hot or like whatever that's cool is P. And it was a cool song with Future. Like the songs with Future on here, it was pretty good. Like it was Too Easy and
I love Too Easy.
And Pushin' P. But it is like Gunna has to learn how to perform on his own. The songs that I thought were really good, like the best song on here, I thought I was playing with Gunna and 21 Savage. And that beat one was really fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like one song that I thought was really melodic and I just don't feel like it was complete was You and Me. I know he had a video that he's releasing that had Keith Sweat and the guy from the son of Big Meech, or it was like I think Lil Meech.
Yeah.
And the video they're coming out with, Living Wild, I thought that song was pretty good. Like I like that song. That's the most introspective song on the album.
Really? Okay. I'm not sure if I think I stopped at track 7. How You Did That with Kodak Black. That one was really it was good. I won't say really good.
I didn't really care too much about it.
Yeah, but so that's that one.
But the other albums you named off DawnFM, like The Weeknd, this album is pretty decent. Like I went through and I heard it had like some good features. I mean, the only feature I guess it was really on here was Lil Wayne and Tyler the Creator. And overall, this is kind of like, to me, it seems like an extension of his last project, After Hours. And it's not bad. Like it's a good tune just to play and just ride out to. Like this is a great project, good effort, good listen. And man, shout out to The Weeknd on that one.
And I did read that, so this is supposed to be a trilogy So like Dawn FM is gonna be part of a trilogy. I don't know if After Hours is first and this is second, but he said that this one is gonna be part of a trilogy. So I guess maybe that's
Did he say that himself, or you read that article, or?
yeah, he said that himself. I don't know if
Okay.
it was on Instagram or not, but like yeah, he said that. So I don't know if that's why it kind of like you said it's an extension of After Hours, but I ain't hear this shit. I don't listen to Weekend like that, but I guess shout out to him. I don't know. Yeah, I listened to Earl Sweatshirt Sick. It was pretty good. I liked the Arm& Hammer song, which I think that came out as a single before that, but that one
It's
was
on my
good.
list to listen to definitely today, like that Earl Sweatshirt.
Yeah, definitely give that a spin. And great beats on there. Of course, he rapping how he rap. So it sounded pretty good to me. And other than that, I don't even think I listened to anything else that came out. Of course, we already heard Sorry for the Wait years ago. And he put one new song on there. So I guess that's kind of cool. He about to get back out here and hopefully, build his name up again. So shout out
Yeah, I
Lil
feel
Wayne.
like we should probably talk about some of the albums that dropped a while ago, because these albums that kind of just dropped very recently and just haven't got to it yet. So some of the albums that I guess I would point out is the ESTG, Bigger Than Life or Death, and the album, Pilot Talk 4 just dropped. Was that recently?
Yeah, that was December.
Yeah. And then Wiz, Cardo, and Sledgerin, they dropped that
Wiz Got
Wiz
Wings.
Got Wings. Man, that album, it's been heavy rotation for me.
Yeah, man, that was
Like
really good.
that's pretty decent. I don't know if you heard the Tierra Whack Pop EP. Like, she had a few songs on there.
Yeah, actually, I had she dropped like three EPs. I think it was rap, R&B, and pop. They was cool. They was cool. I feel like,
Which one you like best?
man, I don't even know. I really didn't like them enough to even rank them, because I feel like I want to hear something different from her.
I think my favorite, it was Pop ? Because there was some songs on there that just was very reminiscent of like Outkast and Eminem, her style and her flow. And I believe the track was called Body of Water, which was pretty good. That was an amazing track. But some other projects was that we probably should highlight is Before Ava, A Boogie with the Hoodie, and Polo G's Hall of Fame 2.0. This is his second one. I don't know if you heard any of those, or Chomp 2 by Russ. Man, he was rapping his ass off on there.
Definitely didn't hear no Russ. No. I didn't listen to Polo G or A Boogie either. I'm not really like huge fans of them like that. But if you say it's dope, I believe you. Which one out of all three of those, which one are you playing first?
Out of all three of those, I guess Chomp 2 definitely drew me a little bit more because of all the features it had on there. There's a lot of good name features, and it kind of drew me to listen to the album. It had Ransom. Like, this album was for the rappers, for real. Ransom, Papoose, Westside Gun, Styles P, Big Crit, Snoop Dogg, Jay Electronica, Joey Badass, Wale, Conway, Ghostface, Saha, Lloyd. Like, Mozzie, like he Big Sean, like he got all anybody that you feel like that can rap in this day of age, or was like some of the biggest name rappers right now. Like he got on this album, and there's a lot of good music on this album. Like, shout out to Russ for sure. Like, this is Chomp 2 is a amazing rap album. It's top tier compared to a lot of people, and the lyricism and some of the things he talk about is very relevant to today. A lot of artists that you listen to today are just like, I agree with them. The numbers just, it don't match the crowd enactment, and it don't match how people showing up to your shows, and I feel like that's what he kind of talks about a lot, is the engagement at the shows and people who are actually buying tickets compared to the music sales. Because there's a machine for sure behind a lot of these artists, and when you start looking at their shows and their numbers, it does look a little funny. And Russ has always been like the I feel like the leader in that aspect, and getting that across and trying to make a point.
Yeah, I mean, I might listen to it. If it was anybody else that made the album, I would definitely listen because all those features sound incredible, like every single one of them. But I'm not a fan of Russ.
What's your problem with Russ? You know what Russ do?
Yeah, I know. I've listened to his music before. I just didn't like it.
No, I'm talking about you. You know what Russ do?
What did he do?
Like you saw everybody who talked bad about Russ. Like he had that whole stint where he was running up on everybody who started talking bad on his name.
Right. But I listened to the music too, though. I listened to his music too, and it didn't hit me. So I'm like, okay, like it just sounded very.
It
simple.
just doesn't connect with you. That's what you're saying.
But based on all them features you just said, and if he really gonna be rapping, I might actually have to check that out. Cause I always love hearing from Styles P, Big Sean, and all them rappers. Snoop, of course. So I think I might have to go ahead and buckle down and listen to that one.
And an album that I know you listened to was Wiz Got Wings. What you feeling about that?
Yep, I definitely heard that one. It was good. I think I might have talked about it on another episode, but yeah, it just sounded like old Wiz. It sounded like he was back to his old form, and I really thought it was dope. I think that my favorite song right now was Shop Around. I want to say that's what it was called. Of course, produced by Cardo Got Wings. Yeah, but it was pretty solid, man. I haven't played it again from when I first heard it, but I'm definitely still playing that one song.
Yeah, I feel like this one of those albums that's on repeat. It kind of gives me the same feeling of when he dropped Kush and Orange Juice. When I listen to this album, it's almost like an extension.
Because it could be, people could probably be like, oh, it's because of the beats, but I feel like it's the way he rapping too, though. But he does also have.
This could be Kush and Orange. This could have been Kush and Orange Juice too, really.
Yeah, because he has the Kid Frankie Part 2 on here. So
exactly, like this was Kush and Orange Juice too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When I listen to Wiz Got Wings, I'm like, this is his Kush and Orange Juice too.
Yeah, and I had watched his $1 Million Worth of Game interview recently, and he said that he had another name for it, but then he said somebody was in the studio with him and was like, why don't you just call it Wiz Got Wings? He was like, perfect. So that's what we got, and we got some good music from it. So I'm appreciative. I can't complain about this one. Pretty solid project from what I remember. So
anything else you want to highlight?
Nah. So let's go ahead and close it out. Let's get into our highlights of the week. Something that we want to speak about. So go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So what I want to highlight this week is the big sleepover with Big Boy and Sleepy Brown. If you all know Outkast and the Dungeon family, that some of that Atlanta sound, this album's amazing. This has Big Boy and Sleepy Brown. Some of the records that really stick out to me on this was NU, as well as Baller. This album I've been playing on repeat for a while now.
So yeah, y'all, I'm not gonna go ahead and highlight anything. We talked about a lot of different albums, a lot of different music topics, so let's leave it at that. Shout out Big Boy, Sleepy Brown. Check out Big Sleepover. Definitely a return from some legends. So let's go ahead and close it out, man. Thank you for listening. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and
Friends
engage with
podcasting for sure.
Yep. So this has been the Friends Podcast, and thank you for listening. If you got this far, signing out.
Peace.